what we can do as the Interparliamentary Union to strengthen democracy.
Hello and welcome. I'm Asuma Katauka and you're watching the Africa Brief on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. At least 4 migrants have died after 2 boats carrying 95 people capsized off of the coast of Khums, Libya, with the Libyan Red Crescent confirming that 4 Bangladeshi nationals from a 26-person vessel were killed. A second boat carrying 69 migrants also overturned, with authorities still unclear on the fate of those on board. The Democratic Republic of the Congo and the M23 rebel group have signed a framework peace deal in Doha, Qatar. Backed by the US and Qatar, Qatari Minister Mohammed bin Abdulaziz Al Khulaifi has stated that the agreement is a path towards peace, even as violence continues, including the recent killings of 28 civilians by the militants in North Kivu. Benin's National Assembly has passed a major constitutional amendment by 90 to 19, extending presidential and legislative terms from 5 to 7 years starting next year, while President Patrice Talon remains barred from benefiting due to his final months in office. A CARICOM delegation will visit the UK November 17th to 20th to press for slavery reparations, highlighting that 12.5 million Africans were forcibly transported during European slave trading, despite pushback from leaders like Prime Minister Keir Starmer. CARICOM and the African Union are now advancing plans for a global momentum for reparations. U.S. Africa envoy Mossad Boulos has warned that Sudan's war has become the world's biggest humanitarian crisis, citing atrocities in El Fasher after an 18-month siege by the RSF. Boulos also said the U.S. and regional partners are pressing Sudan's army and the RSF to accept a 3-month humanitarian truce. The Palestinian Authority has warned Gazans to be wary of agents of displacement after 153 Palestinians arrived in South Africa yesterday under mysterious arrangements linked to a shadowy group called Al-Majid Europe. However, the PA has also expressed gratitude for South Africa's 90-day visas entry for the Palestinians who arrived. Russia's air defenses intercepted at least 57 Ukrainian drones overnight across Samara, Volgograd, Saratov and Rostov regions. In Volgograd, drones struck residential buildings, injuring 3 people, sparking a fire and prompting temporary shelters for displaced residents. Thousands of Mexicans staged Generation Z protests after the public murder of an anti-crime mayor, with demonstrations in Mexico City, as local public safety secretary Pablo Vazquez said 100 police were injured, 40 hospitalized, along with 20 civilians, while authorities made 20 arrests and issued 20 administrative sanctions. Now we start with the U.S. comments on Sudan. U.S. President Donald Trump's Africa envoy Mossad Boulos has called the war in Sudan the world's biggest humanitarian crisis, adding that he hopes to see diplomatic progress towards peace. Since its outbreak in April 2023, the war between Sudan's army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces has killed tens of thousands of people and displaced nearly 12 million people. Last month, the paramilitary group seized control of El Fasher, marking an end to the 18-month siege for the strategic hub in Western Sudan's Darfur region. Let's in fact listen into what the envoy has shared.
The conflict in Sudan, the humanitarian side of this conflict is the world's biggest humanitarian crisis today, and the world's biggest humanitarian catastrophe. Especially what happened in El Fasher in the last 2 or 3 weeks. We've all seen those videos, we've seen those reports. Those atrocities are absolutely unacceptable. This must stop very quickly, I think. But it's being discussed and it's being negotiated. So we urged the parties, and we've been urging them for the last few days, including Secretary Rubio in his statement 2 or 3 days ago. We're urging them to accept this proposal and implement it immediately.
Now for this discussion, we welcome Ayanuga Olugbengapol. He's a public affairs analyst, joins us live from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you very much, Ayanuga, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now looking at this, how should a U.S. balance diplomatic engagement and humanitarian assistance in Sudan, is U.S. currently providing any assistance in between the mediation or effort between the army and the RSF?
Well, beyond the statement made yesterday by U.S. envoy in Qatar, Mr. Bulus, I've not heard or seen any concrete effort by the U.S. Right now. But the fact that they are talking about it right now means that they have paid attention. All the cries by various organizations around the world are getting to them, and they are hopefully going to do something concrete right now. And the fact that they are talking about it also means that the warring factions in Sudan are also going to be paying attention, because I'm sure that none of the two sides will want any intervention from the U.S. beyond negotiation. They won't want a situation where U.S. boots will be forced on the ground or in a multinational rescue effort to help stop the atrocities going on there. So with that, I hope that they will be more than willing to sit at a negotiation table and talk, and hopefully that will yield results. And the 3-month humanitarian peace deal that is being proposed will be maybe the first step towards a longer-term seizure of hostilities in that region.
And building on that, what do you think, what political strategies could maybe other countries, including U.S., adopt to encourage a sustainable ceasefire and prevent further atrocities in Darfur and Sudan?
Well, I think all cards must be put on the table, including blockade of the sales of arms and ammunition to these warring parties, and also the issue of, if need be, balkanization of the country, so that only people who want to stay together, like I've always reiterated, will be allowed to stay together. If there is a referendum and a certain part of Sudan wants to go their separate way for whatever reason, I think that should also be a card that will be put on the table, and also the provision of resources, efforts to raise resources for the UN food program and other agencies that are carrying out humanitarian aid in those areas, because one of the points that have been highlighted in the past few weeks from the UN is the fact that one, they wanted the humanitarian corridors opened, and also that they are running acutely low on resources, that even when the humanitarian corridors are opened, they will need resources to be able to meet the humanitarian needs of the people who are trapped in the war. So part of the things that I want.
Right. We seem to have lost our guest's connection over here, but I'd like to thank Ayanuga Olugbengapol for joining us today and sharing that insight as a public affairs analyst. Now we move on to our next news. The Democratic Republic of the Congo and the M23 rebel group have signed a framework peace agreement aimed at ending the ongoing conflict in eastern Congo. The deal was formalized in a ceremony held in the Qatari capital, Doha, on November 15th. This agreement is part of a broader international effort with the US and Qatar leading mediation talks to resolve the decades-long crisis that has claimed thousands of lives and displaced hundreds of thousands more. Qatar's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Mohammed bin Abdulaziz Al Khulaifi, has emphasized that peace must be built on mutual respect and sincere commitment. While the deal covers 8 key protocols, ongoing negotiations are focused on implementing 6 of them. Despite the diplomatic efforts, violence continues with recent reports of deadly attacks by Islamic State-linked members in the region. Now for this discussion, we welcome Dr. Levi Nudu. He's a political analyst, joins us live from Johannesburg. Thank you very much, Dr. Nudu, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now looking at this, what more can you tell us about the current situation of implementing these 8 points, and why are these governments focusing on implementing these 6 among the 8?
Greetings to you and greetings to the viewers at home.
Greetings.
It's important that at the end of the day, finally there should be peace in that part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. There has been an ongoing conflict between the M23 rebels and the government troops for quite some time. It has left a number of people displaced, a number of people killed, and indeed it has drawn a lot of political attention from the region and of course from the international community. There has been a lot of support from different forces in and outside the DRC. Also at the same time, it has created a lot of strain on the part of the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo. At the end of the day, one has to appreciate the fact that finally there is a peace agreement. What becomes very central in this peace agreement are issues that relate to ceasefire, which of course has been very much instrumental in the harassment, in the dispossession, disorganization of families and people in the eastern part of the DRC. And my view is that that primary factor, if it's achieved, the rest could still be sorted out. And I think that is why you have a situation where they talk about the primary factors. And the primary factor, which is conflict, has been dealt with. And of course, other subsectors of the peace treaty will have to be spoken about in the near future. And my view is that these are positive developments that everybody expected.
And do you think that the 8 peace deal is feasible in near future?
It will depend on the major role players in the peace agreement. It will also depend as to whether indeed the people of the DRC and indeed those that are involved would want to see the end to this conflict. Of course, they couldn't not agree on all these aspects, but when you negotiate, the primary factor is that you should be prepared to compromise, and my view is that these parties are aware that to a certain extent they have to compromise, and that they should do in the interest of the people of the DRC and in the interest of peace and stability.
And can you tell us the countries involved in this peace deal, including Qatar's role here?
Well, I think what's important is that there has been a lot of conflict and disagreement on the basis of the access to resources, on the basis of the ownership of the land, and also on the basis of nationality. And my view is that these are not issues that can just be resolved over time. These are issues that will require a lot of negotiations, a lot of compromise, and indeed some form of cohesion, working together and understanding each other, which in my view is something quite very necessary. So we need to be able, as the leadership of the DRC, they should be able to find ways and means to incorporate the society and the affected citizens to start building from what is agreed upon and ensure that they are able to move forward together as a united people. And that for me is something that is quite primary. Of course, there would be some pockets of disagreements and misunderstandings here and there, and mechanisms should be established to be able to deal with that and manage it in a manner that it does not negatively affect the ultimate outcome of ensuring that there is peace and stability which is permanent in that region.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for sharing that powerful message with us, Dr. Levi Nudu. Thank you very much. Now we move on to Mali. Mali's media regulator, the HAC, has suspended French broadcasters LCI and TF1 over allegedly using unverified statements and falsehoods regarding jihadists in the Sahelian country. The ruling military junta, which came back to power in back-to-back coups in 2020 and 21, has suspended several outlets. Meanwhile, some locals have reacted. Let's listen in.
Bon, ni joasi ni teleso banu ni fem banu jembe nyebula olu betani kalo sugu taka danga duwere la cher la nere ngi selo gouvernement kono ndakila mi gouvernement wo ke ka bewre ma juste ba fu ne pumana parce que nous se ku sigi kanga dugu e qualifié ni ko sugu la gar galo ban sugu danga dugu la kanga
décision nyanaw parce que mama ben kalon diga ka dela e ka do tika herefe jela atika fer erebe lahara ngalo ere fula be adama de mankutu che ngalo fula be jamana na sen kofe ngalo fula be jamana mankutu che je fam bela jele do mama bo sira ta ki segere e ka do ni jugu fula bila odi o goni ka boy ka jamana ka o de benin
ni mo commenta juma fika e ka go maboyla chogo bela o te fenko e o te foshi fambe o jfmb ni mo commenta juma fika e ka go maboyla mais bien avant d'aujourd'hui ou nganga koni ma quoi parce que te foshi ka mala anga autorité te foshi de ka mala so ni ndoronte télé bunumbi kanda on fi télé étranger nous ou ti fembo jabana rek avantage be mina parce que ante kalala anti foshi yalla mi man nafa bon surtout ni yo tigitu to juma fi ka bon ni france tebe ko na bi actuellement ka gele chien fra galongo ninga mo jugula mo ko tsaka nyuma fo ka.
Now for this discussion, we welcome back Ayanuga Olukbenga-Paul. He's a public affairs analyst, joins us live from Lagos. Thank you very much, Ayanuga, for staying with us. Ayanuga, looking at this, it seems like a lot of citizens over there are welcoming this call by Mali's media regulator. What's happening over there, and how often is these kind of steps taken by African countries to suspend false information through other or foreign media outlets?
It is not about African countries. I think it's a worldwide phenomenon with a lot of countries. And like the people in Mali, I also welcome the development, even though as somebody who is closely linked with journalism and the media industry, you might wonder why am I welcoming such move by the government. But we must understand the fact that sometimes the activity of the media may compromise national security, and in everything, national security comes first. Let's not forget, I watched an Indian movie sometimes ago about a terrorist attack in an hotel, I think maybe 2016 or thereabout, where in that movie it looks as if that the desire of the media to be the first to break the news, to report the incident as they unfold, helped these terrorists to kill more people and more security officers than they would have, because the handlers of the terrorists in Pakistan were watching news channels, and they were using the reportage from the news channel to guide the terrorists on how to move, thereby leading to more carnage. So let's take it back to the situation in Mali. We all know that French government are not happy with their expulsion from the country, and the French are not known to be nice people. When they are expelled from any country in Africa, we've seen the kind of wanton carnage and destruction they do. They destroy infrastructure that they have built and all the rest just to retaliate their expulsion. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they are using their news channels to spread propagandas that will undermine the efforts of the government of the country and help the rebel forces win the government with the hope of, once they help the rebel forces will embrace them and bring them back into the country. So from that point of view, I am supporting and I'm happy that the Malian government is taking this timely decision and saying it is the government or juntas in Africa doing this against the world. I beg to disagree because I know that most countries in Europe will do the same, even though they might use other methods to blockade those news channels. They might not even make a public statement about blocking those news channels. You just discover that those news channels are no longer available. So, but for the African countries, the fact that they are sincere enough to say, we blocked you and it is for this XYZ reason, I think we should give kudos to them.
Yes, 100%, and thank you for sharing that example from India as well. And Ainuga, do you think other countries could follow this precedent?
Well, I think other countries, if need be, once they have genuine cases of foreign media organizations undermining their internal national security, they should, whatever it is to protect your country. Some people cannot sit down in France, in US, in UK, and be pushing propaganda that will destabilize your country, and then you sit down watching them. We saw the noise that the US made about Russia's influence in their election and to what extent their effort went to blockade as many of those Russian influences in their election as possible. So if this serves as a precedent, I don't think it's a bad precedent.
100%. And what do you think media, including, you mentioned it's not just Mali's problem, it's this kind of thing is seen worldwide in many countries, not just Mali. How do you think media should act to make sure that these news that we deliver is trustworthy?
So we should do our best effort to be neutral, but that will be hard for some news agencies, especially those that are backed by governments of their country, where they are trying to position their country's interest in front of the people. So for private media channel or even government-backed media channel, they should do their best effort to remain as neutral as possible and also to verify every information before pushing it out. It is so hard today that you don't know who to trust when it comes to media news, and that is why I am happy that we are having many new media organizations who are giving us alternatives to filter out all the lies and propaganda that are engaged. And let me tell you, almost all the government-owned media news do it. If you want to understand Chinese propaganda, they have their news channel, the Chinese news channel that broadcasts in Africa, CGTN. The same thing if you want to understand the Arabian mindset or the Arab world, you listen to Al Jazeera, you listen to the US news channel like CNN if you want to understand the US. But you see, all of these people are biased because by the time you watch all the different angles from which they are picking the news, you will be able to decipher that most often than not, they are projecting their country's government agenda rather than staying focused on the matter at hand and reporting as neutrally as possible. So it calls on all of us in the media journalism world that we should put effort our job is to be ombudsman and not siding with any part. And so if our news reporter is falling short of that and we seems to be unfairly reporting things that are half truth or not true at all, then we should do a in-house cleaning to ensure that we weed out all these false narratives so that our credibility will be maintained.
100%. Great learning from you. Thank you very much, Ainagaluk Bengapol, for sharing that insight as a public affairs analyst all the way from Lagos. Thank you very much. Now we move on to our next news. The US and UK have issued warnings to travelers after major data breach in Somalia's electronic visa system, with personal information from tens of thousands of applicants believed to have been exposed. The U.S. Embassy in Mogadishu has stated that it has received credible reports that unidentified hackers had penetrated the Somali government's e-visa platform, potentially compromising data from at least 35,000 people. Documents circulating online reportedly include applicants' names, photographs, dates of birth, marital status, home addresses, and email contacts. The UK's government has also cautioned travelers that the breach is ongoing and could expose any information entered into the system, urging people to consider the risks before applying for an e-visa required for traveling to Somalia. Now we move on to our next news. At least 4 people have died when 2 boats carrying 95 migrants capsized off of the Libyan city of Khums. The first boat had 26 migrants from Bangladesh. 4 were killed. The second boat carried 69 migrants, including Egyptians and Sudanese people, though their exact fate is unclear as of now. The Libyan Red Crescent has shared images showing bodies in black bags and survivors receiving first aid and wrapped in thermal blankets. Libya has become a key transit route for migrants fleeing conflict and poverty, aiming to reach Europe across the Mediterranean. And that's a wrap on Africa Brief. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.